Well, you must be beside yourself with excitement, Debbie.
A bit exhausted, actually, Andrew. I mean, it's a frantic week, a hectic week for a sports journalist, grand final week. I don't think people understand what it's like. I mean, I've been in there kicking, elbowing, pushing, shoving in the media scrum. So many stories have to be done in grand final week. You know, about 50,000 stories have to be written about the grand final, and there's only 2 teams to pick from. And it always fascinates me how, particularly the newspapers, manage to cope with this, how they manage to keep coming up with enough stuff every day to fill those 5 pages that they've dedicated to rugby league. And I thought one of the more interesting tactics that we should have a look tonight is have footballer pose for silly photograph.
Oh, yes, a favourite in grand final week.
A favourite, yes. I'm sure it happens down in Melbourne as well in the lead up to the Aussie Rules grand final. Lots of footballers posing in ridiculous photos just to fill up space. A picture takes up 1,000 words in space. So let's just have a look. I remember
in '69 the entire South team were hung naked from a girder and smeared with pig's fat, just as a grand final promotion.
Yeah, and that wasn't... And believe it or not, that is not the silliest a South's team has ever looked.
No, no, no. But it is the most cohesive.
True. But let's just have a run through some of the prime examples this week. First up here we've got... This is David Barnhill eating his mother's roast lamb, or lamb roast, because, as the caption so rightly pointed out, it would be dreadful if Mum cooked a lamb roast on grand final day and he had to miss the game to stay home and eat it. What a fabulous concept.
It's a very good point, and I think the little-known story behind that is that David killed that lamb with his bare teeth.
No, I'm glad that's a very natural sort of photo.
It is. It was just, you know, a candid look inside the life of a footballer. He didn't even know the camera was there.
And of course, I hope now that Tom Cruise doesn't ask him out on Sunday, because he may not be able to go to the game then.
It'd be a disaster. Tragedy.
Tragedy. Next, please. Let's have a look at another one.
Oh,
this is actually Tony Priddle blowing fire. This is from a Brisbane newspaper.
Right.
Where I actually tried to get some Brisbane papers because I was sure that they would have silly photos of Broncos players, but it turns out all the silly photos are of St George players. Even up in Brisbane, they had silly photos. That's his mother has just cooked him a chili con carne, of course.
Yes. I can't imagine Tony's very popular with the women. I mean, imagine a tongue kiss from Tony Priddle. Fair blew my head off, it did.
Yes. Next, please. Let's have a look at another one. This is actually... This is Mick Potter with 2 children growing out of each shoulder, or a child growing out of each shoulder.
Somebody should get onto Amnesty about this. I thought they used leather shoulder pads, but using little kids, that's brutal.
It is. But can we just have that one back here? Because the interesting thing about this photo, I mean, it's a lovely little family shot because it's Mick's birthday.
Oh, really? And what, they gave him 3 kids?
No. The cake, rather, has a football field on it. And an interesting sidelight that no one else got onto is that Mick actually turned 29. Now, they were going to put 29 candles on the cake, but that was too many, so instead they tallied up all the points that St George have scored in the last 3 games, and they put that number on as well, much smaller.
Yeah, much easier, yeah.
Okay, next we've got some other... Now this is the artistic approach. Sydney Morning Herald, you can tell that this is a broadsheet newspaper instead of the cheap tabloid stuff. This is a reflective moment. Michael Beattie taking his football for a walk along Brighton Beach. Yeah. And players do that in grand final.
They do, and I know what he's saying there. How do I kick thee? Let me count the ways. It's very beautiful. In fact, it might as well be a St George backline movement for the amount of times the ball gets out there.
Yes, yeah, well, they let him take it home in between the games because, you know, there's not going to be a lot of the...
Yeah, to familiarise himself with the concept of the football.
So he knows what it looks like.
Yes, that's a beautiful photo.
Next we've...
Oh, yes.
Well, this is actually... this is an ABC person. I don't know how he got involved in this football silliness. Robin Williams, the science reporter. Yeah. And that's actually a shot of him sitting in between Glenn Lazarus's toes.
Yeah, no. That's true. That really is. Yeah.
That's a Queensland mosquito, you can tell.
Yeah.
And last one, but not least. This is Tony Priddle again, checking the heartbeat on a skeleton wearing a dragon's hat, and I think that's fairly appropriate too, don't you? Don't you think it says something about...
Well, what it says to me is, you know, I know who that skeleton is. That's the person that Tony Priddle was breathing fire at earlier on.
Yeah, well, I've thought about it, and it is very silly, isn't it? I mean, you see people from other sports posing for those sort of photos. I mean, seeing that one had a stethoscope, I was thinking it'd be nice to have a shot of a Pakistani cricketer with a stethoscope on a cricket ball, you know?
Yeah.
Doctoring the ball.
Oh, very good.
Nice, very nice. I'd like to see John McEnroe with a broken racket lying on a psychiatrist's couch. That'd be a nice one leading up to...
The wacky, zany, reflective sort of shot. I'm sure Melbourne, because Melbourne is totally sports mad, if you saw some similar photos like these in Grand Final Week in Melbourne, send them up. We might take a look at them next week, but only if they're more stupid stupid than Tony Priddle taking a
Impossible.
skeleton's heartbeat, which is pretty stupid. Thanks for that, Debbie. Oh, now, Debbie, before I forget, you strike me as a person a bit starved for entertainment, which is probably why you work here.
I work with you, of course. I'm starved for entertainment.
Absolutely, which is why you could probably use this.